Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Explore More webinar series with 10 Adventures. I'm excited today as we've got a special guest all the way from France who's joining us to talk about the Tour du Mont Blanc. So I think anyone here has likely considered doing this trek and probably has some questions about this trek. And Arjan is here to help us with those questions. So welcome, Arjan.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So the Tour du Mont Blanc, many of you have heard of this trek. It's one of those treks that we tend to get a lot of questions about. So today is really an opportunity not only to ask the questions that you may have, but to also go over some of the most frequently asked questions that we get at 10 Adventures as well. So today the focus will be trekking the Tour du Mont Blanc, obviously unparalleled alpine beauty, the majestic Alps, and I think a great place to start, Arjan, would maybe be by telling us a little bit about the history of the Tour de Mont Blanc.
Actually, Tour du Mont Blanc is a very ancient trek already. It's late 18th century. The first Tour du Mont Blanc was done by a gentleman on the back of a donkey and two guides, and they managed to do the first Tour du Mont Blanc. That's 1786, and ever since they have been doing this trail, and it became very popular in the 1970s of the last century, and it is still very popular today. So
Yeah,
there's a long history.
and growing in popularity each year. It seems. It seems that every year we're booking guests. The trail is filling up quicker and quicker. Further or closer and closer rather to when the dates are released each season. Is that what you guys are finding as well?
That's exactly right. The advantage is that the Tour de Mont Blanc cannot become overrun because you're limited in accommodation, but that's also
Mhm.
the disadvantage because if the accommodations are fully booked, then there's a stop sales because it's just fully booked. But
Yeah.
it's not like Venice that they keep on building hotels or something. It's not possible because you have mountain huts and mountain hotels. So
Yes.
there's just a limit to the amount of people, which is also good.
It's a good thing, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess this would be a note to anyone that is considering booking the Tour de Mont Blanc. It's definitely not a trip that you want to leave to a last minute type of booking.
No, that's not. I mean, we are now we're mid-December now, and we have quite a few dates. I would say uh, sold out already for the next season. So it's really something which you want to plan 12 to 9 months ahead of time.
That's a good benchmark to have. And yeah, you do see those stop sale dates. They're just added on to them each week as we get closer to next season. So I guess a good next question would be obviously the TMB is so popular. What do you think, as a local expert on the TMB, what do you think makes it such a special trekking experience for hikers?
It's. I think that the unique thing is that you hike through three countries. You start in France, you go to Italy, Switzerland, to come back in France. The way we set it up. So the hike through three European countries is the unique part, and then obviously all the time in the way we walk it, it's on your left hand side all the time. You see that huge mountain, the Mont Blanc, and its sister mountains, which are also very impressive. So
Yeah.
that makes it so you're not going all the way up. Huh? It's Tour de Mont Blanc, but you continuously see it in all kinds of different lights and settings.
Different aspects and viewpoints. Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome. It is one of those treks as well that I know from experience of booking people. It's one that they want to do again often after completing it. So we'll have people that book the Tour de Mont Blanc and maybe they want to do a different route or do it in a different time of year. So that shows that it is one of those special treks, especially when people want to repeat it again down the line. So, speaking of the Tour du Mont Blanc, of course, there are many different routes that people can hike on the route itself. So, what would you say are the most popular routes that you and your team offer, or the most popular route?
It is actually have two. The first choice is do you do counterclockwise or clockwise?
Yeah.
So we decided to for the build up in the program, we decided to do it counterclockwise. So we start in Chamonix and we go down south, and then we go to Chapieux, where we around the corner, little corner there, the bottom of your map,
Mhm.
and there
Mhm.
we go into Italy, and then at the north go via Switzerland back to France. So that's the route we use. You can also do half, and then you stop in Courmayeur, which is in the center, almost on the right hand side of your,
Mhm.
so on the southeast side of
Yeah,
your map.
just down here.
The-
Mm.
yeah, and then you stop in Courmayeur, and then you do half. So that's if you have short of time and you just want to do the a nice part of it, then you could also do the half option.
As
And then in
well.
Courmayeur, either you take a train or you take the tunnel back to Chamonix, or you can even take the cable cars, which there's cable cars going all the way over and brings you back to Chamonix as well, which is also very spectacular.
Yeah, that's a popular choice as well. And I know a lot of people that are doing that complete route that you spoke about first are adding a rest day in Courmayeur as kind of a halfway point where they can maybe spend the day either doing, some local hiking or just some R&R, relaxing, exploring in the town as well to kind of break up that longer complete route as well.
And then you would typically do that in Courmayeur because there's a little bit more activity, a little bit more restaurants, a little bit more choice, and so
Uh,
that's a good stop if you want an extra rest day.
yes.
Correct.
Yeah. That's a popular choice of our guests for sure. So I guess that brings us to speaking of the most popular route. This is a route that we offer with you and your team, Ariane. Maybe you can just walk us through the day by day briefly of this 11-day complete Tour du Mont Blanc itinerary.
Okay, we start in Chamonix, which is easily accessible, a bigger town, well-known town, good infrastructure to get there. We'll come back to that later, I think. But then from Chamonix, we take the bus. You can also walk, but we take the bus to Les Houches, and in Les Houches, we start really going into the mountains. Two options there: either you walk to the first ascent to upstairs, or you take a cable car, which is for that first day maybe not a bad idea because the first day is not a short day. So go up in Le Houche with the cable car and then end the day in Le Contamine, which is at the end of the valley. Beautiful little French town with nice architecture and houses. Then next day from Le Contamine we go down south to Les Chapieux. Um, that's the most remote part, I think. Also very, I think, for me personally, the part from Les Chapieux to Courmayeur is the part I like most because if it's so remote, it's not the easiest part, but it's beautiful scenery. Um, then we go from Chapieux to Courmayeur, like we talked about later, bigger Italian village town. Um, Courmayeur up to north east to La Folie, and then we end up in Switzerland already. La Folie Champex. We're all the way up north on the map now, and then from we stay on for 1 day, extra day in Switzerland. We go to Trient, and from Trent then back into France to Chamonix. So that's the step by step. So the day in total, it's like 170 Ks, but split over 9 days of walking. And then denivellation, it's about 10 kilometers up, 10 kilometers down over those, not per day, obviously, those over those 9 days. So
Yeah,
it's going up and down. You if you are down, then you're about 800,000 meters above sea level, and if you're up, you're like at 2,000, 2,400 up sea level. And the Tour de Mont
right.
Blanc right, itself is like 4,700, I think.
Wow,
The Mont
fantastic.
Blanc, sorry, the Mont Blanc itself, yeah.
Yeah, itself, yeah. And so you've noted I think you said your favorite section was the Le Chapeau de Courmayeur. Is that known? Are there any other highlight sections that are really well known that people tend to remark on?
It's the first one, Les Houches to Contamine is nice because it's very how would you say that, gentle, very soft landscape, if I can. It's not
Ah,
hostile, very green, a lot of flora. So that's the first day is there's not a bad day at Tour de Mont Blanc. You don't have a
yeah.
bad day. I mean, coming back to Chamonix, some people are disappointed because they come back to a town, but hey, you need to come back one day.
You
That's more than
eventually,
you.
yeah.
So, but there are no ugly days or bad. No, I don't
Yeah,
see them.
yeah, it's just beautiful right the way through. That's great. I think a question that a lot of people have when they're considering the Tour du Mont Blanc is, how difficult is it? How much training do I have to do? Is it the right trek for me? So I guess seeing as though we've spoken about the complete Tour du Mont Blanc, let's talk specifically about this track. How difficult would you say the Tour du Mont Blanc is?
It's okay. There's no climbing. It's a walk. It's a hike.
Hmm.
So you don't need to be an experienced mountaineer, and there's no ropes and no crampons to put on. It is about hiking, but obviously it's not for the unexperienced hiker. It's not something I never walked or hiked before, and I will
Yeah.
start with the Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
It's a six, depending on the day, but let's say it's between 5 and 6 hours of hiking a day, up and down. And for the less experienced ones, going down is often more tiring than going up.
Mhm.
So it's I would say experienced hikers, but not no climbing. You don't need any experience with climbing. It's not, no need ropes. It's on path. It's not on. You don't have to find your way. It's all very well signposted. We provide an app which you cannot get lost with. So it's all there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that should put some people's minds at ease. A lot of people often ask, "Yeah, is it a technical hike?" And I think that was our next question. Actually, does the TMB require any technical sections or scrambling? And I believe you said that the answer is no. So really, it's just a matter of being
Yeah.
physically prepared for the duration of the hiking each day and the elevation gain as well.
I think this picture which I have with this question gives it. I mean, these are paths, and you see some debris and you see some rocks, but you have to be careful. But it's not going straight up, right? It's not,
Yeah.
you're not being in a horizontal way on the mountain.
Yeah.
So no, this is what it is. This is a good picture which you found here on this part. Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah, I think that makes it accessible. You don't have to be a professional mountaineer to enjoy the TMB, but it's definitely not that, you don't want it to make it your first trekking experience ever either.
No, no.
All right. So I think a great next place to head to in the conversation would be the accommodation options on the TMB. I think this is an area we get the most amount of questions with when it comes to that 11-day complete Tour de Mont Blanc that we talked about. There's two main accommodation options. So we've got the private rooms, and then we've got the shared dormitories as well. So maybe you can help just break that distinction down a little bit for us as well.
Yeah. The Tour de Mont Blanc, like I said in the beginning on this webinar, the difficulty on the Tour de Mont Blanc is the shortage of accommodation. So
Mm.
because it's not easy to build a hotel somewhere on 2,000-meter altitude, which is often not accessible by road. So we are limited in accommodation. We offer the Tour de Mont Blanc for 10 adventures. We offer it in two variations. So one is hotel based. So that's basically family run 2-3 star hotels with ensuite facilities. And we have the dormitory. And in the dormitory, you can have dormitories up to 8 people. You have to bring your own bed linen and bath linen for the
Mhm.
dormitories. We talk about luggage. We will talk about it later. That's a good example of a dormitory.
Mhm.
And then, as you well know, Nadine, and I'm happy to share with the owners of the webinar, if you go for an hotel option, please be prepared to, for maybe one day, say, okay, there's no hotel available anymore, but for one day I will do the dormitory one, at least you can do the whole trip, because it sometimes
Yeah.
happens that for eight for 10 out of 11 nights we found hotels, and then for the 11th night you need to contempt yourself with a dormitory version. Dormitories are clean. They're fine. Everybody's there for the same thing. It's the mindset of everybody is the same, and you have a lot of nice new contacts. So it's all very comfortable. But obviously, look at this picture. If you have to choose between one or the other, there's a difference, right? So but
Yeah.
those are the two options at the Mont Blanc, around the Mont Blanc. And obviously, if you go to Courmayeur and you want to spoil yourself at a four-star hotel, we have those options as well. But we don't
Mhm.
have them. We only have them in Chamonix and Courmayeur.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've brought up a really great point, Arjen. It's flexibility, especially if you're kind of trying to book closer to the season itself, having that flexible attitude of, okay, I've requested hotel accommodations, but I really want to be able to do this trek and make it work. So, being open to 1 or 2 nights in dormitory if private rooms haven't been able to be found, I think is a really great point. And that's always something that we encourage our guests to be open to as well. Food. So obviously, with all of that hiking, it's really important for guests to refuel. What are typical meals like on the Tour du Mont Blanc?
I think you cannot do a Tour de Mont Blanc without eating cheese. I think that's
Yeah.
and
We've got the cheese man down here.
exactly. And I think the other pictures are very pertinent as well. But the cheese, obviously, in France, in Italy, in Swiss,
Yes.
they're all different. They're all as nice, but that's a big part of the Tour de Mont Blanc, obviously.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you also have, and I think it's a little bit us being in France, it's a little bit strange. But every country, although they're so close together, you cross the border and you have the local specialties of. In Italy, you'll will go into the pasta mood straight away in your hotels and your dormitories. And in
Yeah.
Switzerland, you will find the raclette with the cheese and everything, the melted cheese, as you expected. Although it's only a hike of 15 kilometers away, you cross the border,
That
you have
yeah.
a different food scenery. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there are obviously the really the specialties are sometimes a local cheese or a local Alp white wine. Or in Courmayeur, there's the beautiful dish I tasted there. It's called Baki de Courmayeur, which is a specialty of Courmayeur, which is a merengue with chocolate. So it's a beautiful
Oh.
dessert. So that's nothing to do with cheese, but that was in Courmayeur. So there's a lot of good food, but obviously also on those dormitories or hotels up high up in the mountains, there's not a vast choice of meals, but there's something for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And that brings us to another question that a lot of people have about, I guess, special dietary requests. So, vegetarian or or dairy free. I know that typically when guests have these requests, we make sure to note it and let your team know. And your team is always great about letting the accommodations know in advance.
That's what we do, and it's like in the whole world. I think the Tour de Mont Blanc is not different than the rest of the world. It's getting better everywhere. Everybody's getting more
Yeah.
aware. We will let them know. We always recommend people to have some backup with
Yeah.
them. So if one day doesn't is gluten free or something, that you have at least something with you. But in
Hmm.
general, also those remote mountain huts are getting more and more aware of these requirements. So
Yeah.
we will
Yeah.
make sure they know that if it's booked, they will know that it's.
Yeah, and I think that's a big peace of mind for people going forward. But like you said, always a good idea to bring your own gluten-free backup bread in the event that one night is missed or something like that. But it's definitely something that we do, yeah, take note of and make sure that accommodations are aware of in advance.
Okay.
So the best time to hike the TMB, what would you say?
Okay, the TMB opens mid-June and it closes mid-September, and that's
Hmm.
for the very obviously reason that the other time of the year there's snow on the tracks.
Yes.
So normally it's mid-June or second week of June. This year it was a little bit later. We had to wait 3, 4 more days before the paths were clear of snow. So it would be mid-June till mid-September. Then the end of June, beginning of July would be a very busy period. But a little bit quieter period would be the second half of August. So and any between mid-June and mid-September, I don't have a personal preference because you're in the mountains. So even in the hot summer, you're still, if you are between 1,000 meters and 2,200 meters, you're still relatively cool. So it's
Right.
still, you still can hike in August the Tour du Mont Blanc. Um, but those are the periods of the year, and then I would say check out end of August, beginning of September if you're flexible.
Yeah, yeah. And having a speaking of flexible, having being open to dates is really important when it comes to the Tour de Mont Blanc as well. So I typically ask when guests provide their preferred start date, I'll ask for one or two backup start dates that we can work on for them in the event their first choice isn't available. As again, it is such a competitive booking process that we just like to have as many options to work with as possible when requesting the trip for our guests. And I think here what we're seeing is some wildflowers. Is there a particular time? I would think that would be end of May, beginning of June. Is that right?
End of May, beginning of June, we cannot work there yet. It start
Oh
mid
yeah,
it's
of course,
it's
mid-June.
it start mid June, but
It wouldn't be
the
happening.
more flowers you would have actually have in beginning of July. Uh,
Wow, okay.
not so early because it has been under the snow, right?
And it's
For
higher,
the
of course.
and it's higher, so
Yeah,
you will see the flowers along the season, but the
that's good to
most
know.
of that will be in July probably.
That's good to know. Yeah, I think most people assume, okay, spring is the spring blooming flowers time, but everything happens a little bit later when you're at a higher elevation. So you'll have the
Exactly.
opportunity to see those blooming flowers later on in the season as well.
Exactly.
Weather on the TMB. So obviously, these are the summer months that we're talking about when guests are trekking. What's the range of weather like, would you say?
We always say be prepared of quickly changing weather.
Yeah.
So that's my first note on the weather. The second one is I cannot tell you what weather it will be in that time of the year, but in
Hmm.
general, it's dry. It's dry. It's sunny. They're not those cold winds are gone. So it's quite comfortable. But you're in the mountains, and in the mountains, the weather can change rapidly. You can have a downpour, and need to be prepared with your gear. Maybe we talk later about your gear, but need to be prepared with your gear to
Hmm.
confront
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
there's weather throughout the season will be for a hike in the mountains very comfortable.
Comfortable, yeah. Which brings me to a thought. I had a couple of guests last season, and they were emailing me a few days before their trip, and they were so upset, and they were saying, Nadine, it's forecasting rain. Oh, we're so bummed. It looks like 5 days of rain. And actually, it turned out, they said it would start raining for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour in the afternoon. And it would just clear, it would just move in and move out. And I guess that speaks to the whole weather system in the mountains, right? It can change so quickly. And if you see rain in the forecast, it doesn't necessarily mean rain all day, which is good.
But that's also true for the sun, though. But
Yes.
it's
Yeah, the sun comes in and out as well. It can go both ways, I guess,
No, but it's and I never had anybody who had 10 days.
of rain.
I worked on myself one day pretty much rained a day, but then the next day it was sunny, and I never had anybody doing the 9 days in only rain.
Rain. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, that would make the going
Oh,
pretty tough.
oh, also, excuse me, Nadine. Also, because you change from the side of the mountain, right? There's
Right.
a clear side, so the rain tends to be more on the French side than it's on the
Mm-hmm.
Italian side because
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
comes from the west.
Right,
So
because
that
you're
also
moving.
maybe if you go around the corner of the mountain, it can be another type of weather.
Yeah, yeah, it's really localized in that sense. Cool. Luggage transfer. So obviously, these are not the types of bags we're typically transferring, trunks and that type of thing. But this is a big question for people. So I guess a good place to start would be, is luggage transfer possible on the TMB and how does it work?
Okay, we offer the TMB with or without luggage transfer. So luggage transfer is possible, and I would highly recommend it. If
Mm,
you make your life so much easier um, for this trip if you let your luggage be transferred from place to place. It's an 10, 11 days trip. So if you have to take all your luggage along every day for 11 days, it's not 2 or 3 days.
yeah.
So I would definitely recommend the luggage transfer. But we also offer it for those who say, no, I'm an experienced mountaineer. I always used to carry my own stuff, own gear. Then it's possible as well. But I would really recommend that luggage transfer option.
Yeah, yeah, I think it makes for a much more enjoyable experience, especially because there's so many consecutive days of trekking. And so, for those of you who maybe haven't done luggage transfer on a trip before, luggage transfer basically means your luggage while you're hiking from point A to point B, your luggage is transferred from point A to point B, so that you can retrieve it at your next overnight location. And it just means that you don't have to carry all of your own luggage on your back, which is a huge asset when taking on a challenging trek like this.
Yes, you have to leave it before 8 o'clock at the reception,
Hmm.
and then of the hut or the hotel you are, and before 5:30 in the afternoon, it's delivered to the next hotel. There's
Hmm.
only one or two hotels. I think there's in your version. There's one hotel where we cannot. There's no access. There's no physical
Yeah.
no access for cars, and there you need to take a day pack. So if that specific hotel is part of your experience, then we advise well ahead of time. Be careful that day. Your luggage will skip a hotel, so you will find it in the next one. But for that day, you need to take your own day pack.
Yeah.
But that's an exception. And in general, we will be able to bring it from hotel to hotel, and it makes life really much easier. You take some stuff with you. You need some
Mhm.
extra clothing. You still need some stuff that you need for the day.
Yeah.
Probably talk later about a gear pack, but all the rest, just let it be transported and be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It much easier to hike with a day pack than a full pack, right? So, a logistical question here. For arrival and departure airport, where are guests typically flying into and out of when they're trekking the Tour du Mont Blanc?
The most convenient is Geneva.
Yeah.
Geneva is a well served airport, and from Geneva there's a shuttle bus actually special. I think there are maybe 4 or 6 departures per day from
Mm.
Geneva Airport directly to Chamonix. So it's 1.5 hour. And it's very convenient. You can also do it by train. Obviously, you can also do it by taxi if you like. But there's just a shuttle bus bringing you from Geneva Airport to the Chamonix first hotel. So
Yeah.
that
And
would
if you
be my first choice of airport.
Same, yeah. And if you're booking that and often I just say to guests, if you're looking for, some shuttle companies, just send us an email and we're happy to say, hey, this is a reputable company, book this one or that one. If you want to, book a taxi or, advice on booking a train, then we can help advise you on that as well. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. Now we're going to do some question and answers. And you've touched on it a few times, Ariane, and I think it is one of the questions that was sent through before we started. So I'm just going to exit out here. One of the questions that our guests had was the packing list. So, I mean, there's going to be those obvious things on there, your hiking boots, your quick dry clothing. But is there anything beyond that that, wouldn't be on a regular packing list that would need to be on the TMB packing list?
No, for if you're an experienced if you experience hiker, then you know what to bring. Some people say, do I need to bring poles or not? That's really up to you. I'm personally, I don't really like walking with those poles. Others love to walk with them, so that's really up to you. You don't need them necessarily. Um, so and all the rest is just as you said, Nadine, the normal gear. Make sure that you're even if it's very sunny in the morning and you don't see a cloud in the sky, make sure that you bring your rain gear, um, and make sure you have some kind of warm clothing because way up at 22 or 2400 meters, it can be cold. So that's the stuff which you go up and down. So that's the stuff you need, and obviously a lot of water, but that's
Yeah.
also regular. You will pass a lot of streams. I dare to drink out of those streams. Not everybody's comfortable with that, so that's up to you then. But it's make sure you have a lot, not enough water with you.
Mhm.
Um, but it and the rest is the regular stuff. But I think it's not a it's your flatland hike. Then the weather don't change as often as quick as in the mountains. So for that you need a little bit gear with you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Um, and I guess a question that would be specific to those staying in dormitories, do they need to bring sleeping bags or would it just be a sleeping bag liner?
It would be a sleeping bag liner.
Hmm.
That's the minimum you should bring. Some people are comfortable bringing then their own sleeping bag because they have one of those nice, fancy, easy rollable sleeping bags with them. But it's the sleeping bag liner which you need. Is the minimum you need.
Yeah, great. And if anyone in the audience has any further questions, I'm happy to send over the packing list that we typically recommend. So just I'll note my email down in the Q&A section for you guys as well. So feel free to type your questions in, guys. I see that Arnold here has asked, I've been thinking of doing the TMB with my family. Are there any family style accommodations along the route? Now, by family style, I'm thinking Arnold probably means accommodations that are okay for children to stay at as well.
Yeah. Again, it depends on the family and children can do the Tour du Mont Blanc if they're experienced with hiking and they can do 13 kilometers, 15 kilometers a day up and down. Then I've seen children doing it, and I've worked with my own children in the Pyrenees, not the Mont Blanc, but in the Pyrenees, and they tend to get up and down easier than we do.
I was
So
going
that
to say that.
that's okay if as of a certain age, obviously. And then for the accommodations, a few hotels do have family rooms. I stayed with my family in dormitory, and then we had the dormitory to ourselves.
Oh,
So
okay.
it all that, but that was a coincidence, obviously. But it you can do both dormitories, or obviously you'll be together in the dormitory. And
Hmm.
some hotels do offer family rooms, but that's really we need to take it then. Uh, Again, long-term planning helps,
Yeah.
um, and then we have to cater for that specific client and find the best accommodation for that client.
Yeah. So it's something that we could work on for sure. Um, as a dog lover myself, this question appeals to me. Are dogs allowed on the Tour de Mont Blanc, both on the trail and or at accommodations?
They are allowed on the trails. It's not so easy on the accommodations.
Yeah.
There's also a difference between the countries there and what is custom in a country.
Of
In
course.
France, it's in general not a big thing. We have some accommodations in Switzerland which don't allow dogs. So I wouldn't. We have to again. Then we have to really look into that reservation of that guest and look into
Hmm.
their hotels and start calling. But it's not something which on the trails they are allowed. They need to be on the leash. So
Hmm.
that's also not always in the mountains. Not always easy to have a dog on a leash.
Yeah.
But and then for the accommodation we have to check
Yeah.
per booking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Definitely not a request we get all that often, but for the one-off, someone may be wondering out there if it's possible. So there's your answer.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we have any further questions here. Yeah, we've got one. Is it too late at this point to book the Tour de Mont Blanc for 2024?
No, it's not too late. It's not too late to book, but we have quite a few dates which are sold out. But we have also some, like for example, which I said earlier, the second half of August, we still have plenty of availability, and we just confirmed the booking of 7 people traveling together this morning. So we are still confirming bookings, but it's it's getting close. And then after Christmas, when everybody has come together in family gatherings, and then everybody's like, oh, let's do
Let's
something this
go.
summer. Then,
Yeah, exactly.
then a crazy time ahead of us. But
Yeah.
it's still possible. But then don't think about beginning of July, but think about the end of August.
That's a great point. Yeah. And that we do tend to get that rush after everyone's seen friends and touched base and chatted about their plans. And it's like, let's plan this summer hike. And then the real rush begins. We have another attendee in the audience wondering if the Tour du Mont Blanc is suitable for a solo traveler doing a self guided trek.
Yeah, it's because it's not as remote and as difficult. I mean, traveling solo sometimes if you're have a question, do I go left or right, or how does it work here? If you're down by yourself, it's not always easy. But on this track, like I said earlier, it's very well signed posted
Mm.
in the French, the Italian, and the Swiss section. We provide the app, so you cannot get lost, and there are a lot of other people walking there. So if you're a solo traveler, very quickly you will have a chat with fellow hikers and see people having a picnic, and who will sit next to you if you have your picnic. So I would definitely recommend this trip also for solo travelers.
Yeah, we do get quite a lot of requests for solo travelers, both male, female, all different ages. And the feedback is always
Yeah.
great that, yeah, you are able to meet people along the trail, but if you kind of just want to do your own thing and keep your head down, you can do that as well. So it's flexible in
Mhm.
that regard. All right, let's take a look and see if we have any further questions. One more here on the list. So we have an attendee that's wondering, in the event of getting lost or needing assistance, what do you do?
Okay, we run this trip now for in a self-guided version for 6 7 years. Nobody ever got lost, but
Okay, good to
if it
know.
if if
In
it
case you're
really
the
nobody.
first one.
But in case you're the first one, there's a 24/7 helpline to us.
Yeah.
There's an app and which help you locate yourself, and then what sometimes happen on other tracks, not on the Tour de Mont Blanc, but then people sending us a WhatsApp with their location, and we guide them back to the track. We pull out our maps and we guide them back to the track. So again, it never happened on the Tour de Mont Blanc. I think Tour de Mont Blanc is one of the best signposted, best marked
Mhm.
tracks I know. But if it happens, and again, there are a lot of other people, or there are other people. It's not that you're in during a day. You will see other people, so you can always ask others as well, right? It's not a track where you're really all by yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that should put some minds at ease for sure. And that's exactly what we tell any guests that are asking that question. And I think that should give people some peace of mind as well.
Mm.
That brings us to the end of our question list here. And I want to thank you for sharing your expertise with us on the Tour de Mont Blanc. It was great to have, some firsthand experience from someone who's not only hiked it, but hiked it with their family. So thank you so much for joining us, Ariane. It was a pleasure having
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And if any
Yeah.
questions pop up later, just contact Nadine, and Nadine knows how to find me.
It's wonderful. And I'm just going to type my email now for everyone into the Q&A so you can copy and paste that and send me an email with any questions, or if you're ready to get booked, now is a great time to start thinking about it. So looking forward to connecting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.